apparently the link has been reset. So I'm asking the students to join this one. Just give me a minute. So we'll wait for the students to migrate to this session now. We have around.
How do I join this session?
Ma'am, you're already in the session.
But I can't open it. It just says join, connect to a meeting in progress. Should I press that?
No. You don't have to do anything, ma'am. You're already in the session. You're live on YouTube right now. So this same Zoom meeting that we are having, it is being live telecasted on YouTube. On YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just wait for students to come in. There were like 30 students on the other link. And I'm just asking you to join now. Yeah. So we have students coming in. So yeah, I guess we should start now because there's around 20 students that have migrated.
So how do I join? Click on join?
No, ma'am. You're already being live telecasted. You don't have to do anything.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Do I introduce myself or will you do that?
I can do that. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Sorry about the fiasco about the link. It got reset somehow. I don't know. I'm still trying to understand how YouTube and Zoom work together. Anyways, so today we are having this special session for English language, IGCSE and O-levels. I know that you have the comprehension paper tomorrow, paper 1 for IGCSE and paper 2 for O-levels. And we have our very well-educated and accomplished Ms Gaitee Ara with us. And she has taught for many years at HSN College. And she recently left that. She has done double masters from UK. And she has been an amazing teacher as far as I know. Last year was the first year that I met her, and she was having this summer camp for students to help them with their English language and to hone their English language skills. And she has been doing a very productive work with many students. And in a country like ours, if you can teach somebody English language, you can definitely change their life and obviously introduce them to many opportunities that would otherwise be lost to them. So I'm really grateful to Ms Gaitee Ara for joining us today. And I would request her to now start the session on the paper and take this thing away. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the very kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and to be conducting this session. First of all, I'm going to talk about paper 2, which is O-levels. O-levels paper 2, which is basically comprehension. So comprehension basically covers 2 components of the English language, reading and writing. So basically comprehension, in a comprehension, you're supposed to read the text in front of you and then answer questions based on it. In the O-levels paper 2, you're given 2 comprehension passages. In the first one, you have to read it and then cover the key points, which you have to list. It asks you to list the key points in the passage. And in passage number 2, which is given, you're supposed to answer questions on it. And those questions are related to, could be related, those questions could either be straightforward questions where the answer is in black and white in front of you, or it could be an inferential question, which are much harder to answer, and you basically have to read in between the lines to answer inferential questions. Basic practice with inferential questions is basically gained by doing as many comprehensions as you can. Inferential questions address a higher order skill. If you've looked at Bloom's taxonomy, in the lowest thing is, I think, just recalling. And then the highest step is assimilation or something of the sort. So as you go up the ladder, the skills required get harder and harder and more complicated. So with inferential questions, I would think that the best thing to do is to basically practice as much as you can. Now with comprehensions, I would suggest that you first of all divide your time accordingly. So you'll have, I guess, 1.5 hours for this paper, and you'll be given 2 comprehensions. So when you read passage 1, you should ideally read it twice or thrice or maybe 4 times in order to cover the key points given in the passage. And when I say the key points, I mean the important points. And normally the important points are found at the beginning of the paragraph or at the end of the paragraph, where it sums it all up. Generally speaking, what you do is you give an opener, and then you give examples, and then you give a conclusion. So the main point is either found in the opening line or in the closing line of the paragraph. Of course, when I talk about key points, I don't mean things, examples, or extra details which are given in order to lend credibility to an argument that the writer is trying to make. So when you come to the key points, you should be very careful, very carefully you should be scanning the comprehension and underlining the key points so that you have those at hand when you start attempting the question. Generally speaking, these comprehensions where you have to cover the key points are quite factual. So they'll give you a lot of facts, and they'll expect you to sift through the comprehension and extract all the key points. So that is paper 1. That is comprehension passage 1 of paper 2. In comprehension passage 2, you'll be given another insert and you'll have to read that, and then you'll have to answer questions on that. Now, I'm sure all of you have looked at marking schemes when you've been doing past papers. So you have a pretty good idea of what Cambridge looks for when it marks comprehensions. The idea is the best way to judge or assess whether somebody is understood the passage is, of course, to attempt questions on it. But the answers to those questions have to be relevant and to the point. Cambridge does not give any credit for providing unnecessary or unwanted information or information which is not required or hasn't been asked. So you have to read the question and then answer the question accordingly. So basically, if it says in your own words, for example, in your own words, describe what this means or describe what this experience was like. You have to make sure then that you use your own words, and if you do not use your own words, you will be penalized. That is so the instructions have to be read very carefully and have to be understood before attempting questions and comprehensions. If it says give the meanings of the word with reference to the context, then you have to make sure that you read the passage and give the meaning which is appropriate for the context in which it's being used. So you should that is another pitfall, or that is another thing where students go wrong. Because you see, one word in the English language can have more than one meaning. So when you say a reference to the context, you basically what you're saying is that you want the meaning of the word as it is used in the context. I don't have room for you anymore. Now, room is also a noun, which means a place where you live. I don't have room for you anymore basically means I can't adjust you anywhere. I don't have enough space for you. Is there room for improvement? That means, is there scope for improvement? So the word room has been used in 3 different ways in 3 different sentences. If I don't read the sentence and I don't understand the context, I will be unable to answer this question. So the idea is that you must read and write as much as you can to enhance your vocabulary so that you can answer these questions easily. And the best way to do that is to attempt past comprehensions, past papers, or for example, you can also attempt other comprehensions or comprehensions found online. There are plenty of comprehensions online, like for example, EdHelper, www.edhelper.com is a very useful website. It has comprehensions up till grade 9. You can look at those comprehensions. There's another comprehension. There's another very good website, ereadingworksheets.com. So you can look up, it has a lot of comprehensions with questions, and it becomes harder as you go along. So you can try that website. There's another one, readworks.org, that has a lot of comprehensions also. So if you want to sort of perfect the skill of attempting comprehensions, then the idea is to do several different kinds of comprehensions so that you get a better idea of the kind of questions to expect. And you'll get more and more practice also. And you will become better and better as you practice. So, and the other thing in comprehensions is that basically when you do not provide, for example, if it says, give me one word which replaces this word. If you don't give them one word, you give a phrase, they'll automatically deduct your marks. They just want to see whether you understand the question, whether you understand the comprehension, whether you know what to whether you know what to answer. Or for example, it might say, it might give you a phrase and then ellipses at the end and say, why has the author used ellipses at the end? You understand what ellipses are? 3 dots where the thought sort of trails off and you don't really come to a definitive conclusion. You leave the sentence as it is and it's open to interpretation. So you might want to, the question might ask you, why do you think ellipses have been used in this case? And you might say that maybe because the author wants it to remain open-ended, or maybe when ellipses are also there when somebody interrupts you. So I might start saying something, and then if somebody's interrupting me, I'll sort of stop saying what I was saying, and then that person will butt in and come in with his point of view. So the idea is to read the comprehension very carefully and understand the questions also. A lot of you read the comprehension, understand the comprehension, but then I think sometimes you have moments of self-doubt. So you say, okay, I know the answer to this question, but just to be 100% sure, let me also add in this extra detail. Actually, that doesn't give the right impression. The impression that the other person gets is that this person is not sure of him or herself. So you have to follow the instructions. The Cambridge system is basically, it encourages people to be clear and concise in their answers. They do not want long details. You know, that's the difference between O levels and metric, for example. In metric, you basically wrote, memorize, and reproduce everything. In Cambridge, they want to see how critically you think and how well you analyze and how strongly you support arguments and how well you understand questions. So do you have any questions for me before I move on to IGCSEs? Ahmad, are there any questions?
Yes, ma'am. The students post their questions on the YouTube
How
chat.
can I
I've
access
also
those
shared
questions?
those with you in the WhatsApp chat. Oh, sorry, in the Zoom chat. So you can.
Okay, I can't see any questions at the moment.
Hold on, I'll share you the link so you can easily see that. So just. Yeah, so here's the link for the questions. You can see them here.
Where is the link for the questions?
You should get it in the Zoom chat. Or
The
I can
Zoom
send it to you on
chat.
WhatsApp.
Actually, should I?
I've sent it on WhatsApp as well. So you should be able to see that.
G, where are the questions?
Yeah. So here's the link for.
Okay, Samir Shah. Should we start off with Samir Shah? Where is the link for the questions?
You should get it in the Zoom chat.
Yes, I've got it.
Or
the
I can
Zoom
send it
chat.
to you on
Actually, should I?
I've sent it on WhatsApp as well. So you should be able to see that.
Okay, Samir Shah, which papers should we do to? Where are the questions?
So here's the link for.
Okay, Samir Shah. Should we start off with Samir Shah? Where is the link for the questions?
You should get it in the Zoom chat.
Yes, I've got it.
Or I can
Zoom
send it
chat. Actually,
ma'am, I think you have opened the YouTube on your end, and that is why you're listening. You're hearing this. So please mute that.
Samir Shah, which papers should we do to?
So you can begin with the questions that are in the chat, or I can send those to you.
Samir Shah. We start off with Samir Shah. Where is the link for the question?
You should get it in the chat.
Yes, I've got it.
Guys, it appears like we have some technical issues. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, and that is why you're listening. You're hearing this. So please mute that. अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम, आपने अपने कंप्यूटर पे जूम चला लिया है? सॉरी, आपने अपने कंप्यूटर पे भी उसको चलाया हुआ है? Assalamu alaikum, guys. So I'm adding Ms Gaitee back, and she should take your questions now. And feel free to ask her any questions about these papers that you have. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You can take the questions now.
Okay. Which questions should we do to best prepare for tomorrow's exam? Or which papers should we do to best prepare for tomorrow's exam? That's Sameer Shah's question. But Sameer Shah, you should basically attempt all past papers, and you should try and attempt a wide range of comprehensions so that you learn to tackle a wide range of questions. And slowly, you should start from basic questions where the answer is in black and white in front of you, and then go on to harder and harder questions. So things like you basically, you've just read about a person who goes on an adventurous journey. Have you ever been on an adventurous journey? How was the experience? Describe it in 2 lines or something like that. So you should try and attempt all kinds of questions, and the more imaginative and creative the questions, the more that'll stimulate your imagination more, and that'll stimulate your creativity also, and you'll learn how to tackle different kinds of questions. So give yourself as much practice as you can. That's the advice that I would give you. Miss, how many years of past papers should we do and from which year? As you should try and do as many past papers as you can. I cannot name a specific year. As I've just mentioned, try and do as many as you can, and try and deal with a wide variety of comprehensions and a wide variety of questions. In a summary, basically, you have to reduce the passage to 1/3. So, and it has to be in continuous writing. So when you write a summary, basically, you should try and use your own words. The gist of the passage should remain the same, but you should try and use your own words. Because if something has been said in 20 words in the passage, maybe you can say it in 2 words or 3 words or 4 words or 5 words when you use your own words. And of course, in a summary, it has to be within the word limit. You can't exceed the word limit. You have to cover all the main points. So basically, as I said, the main point will either be in the opening line or in the closing line. In between, you'll probably find examples or arguments given to support what the person has already stated. So you should try and keep to the word limit. Try and use your own words. Try and include all the main points. And do not include unnecessary information or information which is not required but has just been used to elaborate an argument. So I might say, for example, that inherited wealth is a curse. Now that is the main point which I'm trying to make. And I'd say, for example, look around you. There are so many families around you where who are extremely influential and well off, but look at the number of problems that they have. So I'm using an argument to support my opening sentence. So then I could say that, to conclude, inherited wealth is more of a curse than a blessing. So ideally, you should not include the examples or the extra information given and stick to the main points only. Summary's highest band. Summary's highest band would be where you meet the word limit. You use your own words. It's in continuous writing, no paragraphs. And you are concise and to the point. Like I said, Cambridge people, the Cambridge system encourages people to be precise, concise, and to the point. They do not want long details. They want you to stick to the word limit. They want you to use your own words. They want you to include the main points. And of course, the language matters a lot also. You should be writing in formal language as it's a formal English paper. And you should make sure that the words you use do not alter the meaning of what is written in the passage. So for example, if I say inherited wealth is a curse, if I were to say it in my own words, I'd say, oh, inherited wealth has far more disadvantages than advantages. I'm saying the same thing, but in different words. So try and say it in your own words, but do not alter the meaning of what is given in the passage. For the vocabulary MCQs, I would say, again, you should try and read the comprehension and make sure that you understand the context in which it is being used. And with vocabulary MCQs, basically, you'll benefit if you try and read and you try and acquaint yourself with new words, or you try and maybe you could say, while when reading something, you could look up the meanings of the difficult words, or for example, there are lots of websites on the internet where you can search for vocabulary for grade 10 or vocabulary for O levels, and it'll give you a list of vocabulary words as well as the meanings and the sentences. But the point is that the more you read, the more different kinds of words you'll come across, and the more exposure you'll get, which will help you when it comes to vocabulary MCQs. Do not write examples or include any extra information in a summary. And I think at the margin for using your own words is that to a certain extent you can use your own words. So for example, if something has been explained at length and you think you can reduce it to a quarter of the length, or you can say the same thing maybe in very few words and words of your own choice, and do that. There's no problem with that. And try not to include, but when a litmus test could be that when you're reading a summary, you should be able to understand what the passage is about. So if I summarize something for you by reading the summary, you should be able to get an idea what the passage is about. And if you get a fair idea what the passage is about, then the summary is fine. There's nothing wrong with the summary. And of course, you have to stick to the word limit. That is very important. I'm not sure what is the average marks you need to get top in IGCSE English 0500. Average marks, I guess it's, I'm not sure, is it 50% passing? It depends on the grade you want. I guess if you want an A star, then it has to be above 90%. And if you want an A, then it has to be between 70 and 80 or 75 and 80%. I'm not sure how they work out the percentages. But basically, if you want to, you should be able to, it depends on what you're aiming for, really. Are you aiming for an A star? Are you aiming for an A? Are you aiming for a B? So your preparation and the kind of hard work that you put in will determine what kind of result you want or expect at the end. Write in your own words. Well, basically, you see, let me give you an example. If it says, I felt exhausted, please rewrite this in your own words. You could say something like, I was ready to drop dead. That's the same thing. It's not very formal, but it means the same thing. So in your own words, if you use formal language and can convey the same meaning in your own words, I think that should do the trick. For example, imagination is very, imagination has not been used at all in this piece of creative writing, or you could say that more creativity and imagination need to be used. Another word for imagination could be the person needs to plan and improvise more, or maybe needs to plan and be more creative. So when you say in your own words, you have to think how you can rephrase that, but retain the essential meaning of the phrase or the word or the sentence. As far as idioms go, I think you can search for them online. There are lots of idioms. I can, like for example, to put the cart before the horse, which is to do things the wrong way around. To carry coals to Newcastle, which basically means, so for example, it's a little bit like bringing carpets to Pakistan where we already have carpets. So if it's basically what it means is that you're bringing whatever is available in your country. If you're going abroad and buying it, then it's like carrying coals to Newcastle. For example, if we go and buy material abroad, that will be a little bit like carrying coals to Newcastle, because we have one of the biggest textile industries in the world. Or for example, to have a bee in one's bonnet, so to be suspicious or to view something with, what is the word? To be suspicious or to have your reservations about something. So in idioms, I would say only use an idiom if you're absolutely sure that it fits the context. Do not just use an idiom to show off the fact that you know an idiom, okay? Make sure that it fits the context. That's very important. The margin of words, I'm not sure of. All I know is that if you feel after reading your summary that you've managed to capture the essence of the passage, then that is fine. Like I said earlier, rather than reading a long passage or a book or something, if you read a summary of the book, you've got a fair idea what the book is about, and then you decide whether you want to read the book or not. Similarly, in a comprehension passage, if after reading it, you feel that you've summarized it quite well, or that from the summary you gain a pretty good idea of what the passage is about, then that is basically what is required. I think that is the litmus test for it, as I said before. Uzair, I don't understand the meaning and effect question you've asked. Can you please elaborate on that? Okay, is that okay? Okay. Uzair, as far as the cause and effect question is concerned, you will basically give the meaning of whatever you're being asked and then decide what the effect of that could be. So, for example, if I don't study hard, the effect will be that I won't do well in my exams. If I have a lot of junk food, the end result will be that I'll put on a lot of weight. So you have to sort of, like, for example, when you're speaking to people and just look at their facial expressions and their body language. If you're saying something very flattering to somebody, then the effect of obviously will be that that person will be very pleased with you and will be very happy. But if you're saying something very critical, then from the person's body language, you'll immediately understand that your words, if he's taking your words positively, you'll see that. And if he's not taking your words positively, you'll see that also. So basically, you have to read the comprehension passage and see, and then look at the question and see, okay, this is what I've been asked to define or explain the meaning of. What effect could this have? So I would say that you need to read the passage and then try and put yourself in that situation and then see कि अगर मैं ये करूँगा तो इसका effect क्या होगा? Like, for example, if I am harsh with somebody, the effect will be that they'll be harsh with me. If I'm polite to somebody, the effect will be that they'll be polite with me. So cause and effect जो होता है ना, वो यही होता है कि एक चीज क्यों हो रही है उसकी वजह मालूम करो, और अगर आपको डिफरेंट रिजल्ट और उसका इफेक्ट ये हो रहा है उस चीज का, तो आइदर चेंज जो जिस वजह से वो चीज हो रही है उसको या तो बदलें to get a different result. But if you keep on putting the same input and expect a different output, that's not going to happen. I don't know whether I've made myself clear or not, Uzair. I hope I managed to make myself clear. Can you please respond in the chat and let me know if I've made myself clear? Okay, let's go on to the Igcs Paper One, which is basically writing. And it's directed writing and it's creative writing. Now with directed writing, they look at two things: task fulfillment and language. When you're given a directed writing task, you have to read it through really carefully and then see what it is that you're being asked to do. If you're being asked to write a speech, then there'll be 3 or 4 content points which are given to you, which you will have to cover in that speech which you write. So they'll basically mark you. 15 will be for for IGCSE. I think hold on. Can someone tell me? I don't have the IGCSE format in front of me. I know there's directed writing and I know there's creative writing. I think it's for 80 marks. So 40 marks for directed writing and 40 marks for creative writing. Is that right? Can somebody please confirm that? Basically, in directed writing, they'll be looking at task fulfillment and language. So if you've managed to fulfill the task, if you've managed to cover all the content points and you followed the right format. Now, a lot of you are asking me about formats. There are lots of different formats. I would suggest use the ones which your schools have asked you to use, because there's more than one format for everything. And please remember that where it says, please start your letter with Dear Sir, just start your letter with Dear Sir and do not just straight away start your letter with Dear Sir. If it specifically asks you to do that, then do that, and do not use the format for a letter or a formal letter or whatever. That's what I've learned in O levels, at least, that if it says, please start your letter with please start your speech with to the principal, or please start your letter with Dear Principal, just follow the instructions, as I said, and just make sure that you cover all the content points if you want to score well in the task fulfillment portion. In the language portion, the language has to be simple, precise, and to the point. You will not score any brownie points for using very difficult words or words which are not commonly used. I think it's best to be simple and straightforward and precise and concise. And I think Cambridge appreciates that. And that is also advisable, because if you try and use words which you're not very familiar with just to make an impact on the person who's checking the paper, then the probability is that you could go wrong. And the probability of making mistakes is also higher. So use language that you're comfortable with, but at the same time, do not use very simple language either. It should reflect the level of the paper that you're attempting. You know, rather than saying, for example, I went to sleep, you could say, I was exhausted and went to bed, or I was exhausted and I hit the sack. That's an idiom. Hit the sack means going to bed. Or for example, if you want to say, we were served, for example, if you want to say, let's put out the fire, it's better to use a word like extinguish. Let's extinguish the fire. Or let's, can you turn the volume down, or can you lower the volume, or can you decrease the volume? So the thing is that your writing has to flow, and it will only flow when you practice writing as much as you can. And for that, or you have past papers, you've been writing letters, I think ever since grade 3 or 4, they've been teaching you how to write letters. So it's not something which is new for you. It's just something which you need to keep practicing and perfecting. And you have to make sure, again, I'm saying this, that you have to make sure that you cover all the content points. And you have to make sure that you fulfill the task at hand, and the language has to be proper, the register, the tone, the sentence structure, the kind of words that you use, all that has to be of a certain standard. It can't be too childish, it can't be too simple, because remember, this is an O levels paper and they're looking for a certain standard. And they're expecting you to write, they're expecting you to adhere to a specific standard when you write. But be precise, be simple, be straightforward, but do be professional, do be formal, do be I mean, do understand that this is an O-levels paper and you have to keep a certain standard in mind, or the IGCSE paper. Formats, please use the ones you've been given by your school. There's no one definitive format, and follow the instructions. If it says start with this, then please do start with that. You don't need all what they've just, if they say dear, start your letter with dear sir, then just start off with dear sir. You don't need to have the, all the format and everything else, because it specifically asks you to start off with something. Okay, I have the IGCSE's Paper One format in front of me, which is reading. 2 hours, 80 marks. Candidates answer 3 compulsory questions on 3 texts, which may be on a similar topic. Candidates write all their answers in the space provided on the question paper. Text A and text B will be 700 to 750 words in length, and text C will be 500 to 650 words in length. Candidates spend approximately 15 minutes reading the texts. Okay. Comprehension and summary task for 30 marks. Candidates respond to a series of sub-questions. These include short answers, testing understanding of both explicit and implicit meanings. Okay, paper 1 of IGCSE is reading. So 2 hours, 80 marks. There's a comprehension and a summary task, which is question 1. Question 2 is a short answer questions and language task. And question 3 is an extended response to reading task. The learning objectives are clearly defined. So I would say in comprehension and the summary, basically you'll be expected to write a summary, and I've already told you how to write a summary. Try and use your own words, stick to the word limit, and try and cover the main points. Question 2, short answer questions and language tasks will basically ask you questions on the comprehension and you'll have to answer those. And in the extended response to reading, this is basically where directed writing comes in, and you'll have to answer. You'll have to either, it'll be letter, report, journal, speech, interview, and article. And I think you have to cover all the content points in that. That's all I'm looking at. And if you have any sessions, we'll be happy. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to take them after the session. You can send them to me in chat. Can we end the session now? And Ahmed?
Of course, ma'am, if you think that all the important points have been covered, we can end the session now, of course. I think all the questions that students posted, we have answered those. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you so much for bearing with us. And
do let me know what the feedback was and how it went.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care. All the best for your exam tomorrow. Allah Hafiz.
Okay, man. Here they go.